Hello and welcome back to Unleash Your Inner Athlete with me, your host, Julia Pizzichemi. And thank you so much for joining me today, Karina. Lovely to have you here. It's great to have you aboard. We've got great discussion with you because we want to get into this journey that you've had with high functioning anxiety, how you set up your company, the Orange Notebook, having gone through all of this. And later in the episode, we obviously want to discuss a little bit about the tools, the strategies you use to overcome this and really create a successful business, not just for yourself, but helping others. But also I want to get into the idea of, the effects that this can have on people, because so many people, high performing people struggle with high functioning anxiety. So I think this is a really important subject, and many people may not be aware that they're even suffering from it. But those who do, because I think I read something I think it was the Global Institute of Autoimmune Disease, something like that apparently 80% of people who are diagnosed with this note that prior to being diagnosed that they have unusual excessive amounts of stress. So this correlation as well between your health and high functioning anxiety. So, but before we get into that, we want to find out a little bit more about Karina, how you got to where you are, developing your business, the Orange Notebook, because that's a really fascinating story as well. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and so we can get to know you a bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. A little bit about me. So I come from Romania, and I moved to the UK 16 years ago in 2009 to do my education. I've done so, and then, like everybody else, I had 9 to 5 jobs. I was following the path to success, climbing the ladder, all of that. And I found myself in quite a toxic environment at the workplace, and having that feeling that this is not enough. I'm meant to do more. There were some specific moments when I recognized that, for example, I was denied certain opportunities. I was told to stay in my lane. So I was definitely not happy with where I was in life and professionally where I was in my career. So the whole idea of starting a business starting in 2018, when me and my best friend Alina, who is now my co-founder, met for lunch and started complaining about our miserable lives and miserable jobs, and like best friends do, and how we hate everything at work and we would love to do something else. And I said, oh, how cool would it be to actually start something together, like a business? And in that moment, we both felt very excited. And I happened to have an orange notebook in my bag, so I grabbed it and I started scribbling about what we would do, who we would serve, how we would do things, and it was more like a joke, like a dream back then, because we weren't ready to be entrepreneurs. We come from a country where entrepreneurship is something very different, unusual, meant for other people. We are supposed to stay in our jobs and respect the authority, and that's it, not question anything. So we weren't ready back then. Nobody in our family is an entrepreneur. Nobody in our circle is an entrepreneur. So we didn't have that model. And we didn't feel ready back in 2018. So I put the Orange Notebook back in the bag, and it stayed there for another 2 years until the situation became very stressful. And my mental health had to suffer. And then it turned quite physical for me, because I was waking up every day with a headache. I was throwing up almost every day. And that was because of stress and because of the anxiety. And I could recognize that, because every time somebody from work would call me, my heart started racing. Every time I would get a text from my manager, I would panic, I would freeze. And then instantly that feeling of sickness was coming. So that was the cue for me to change something. It happened to be 2020 when the pandemic started, when I decided that enough is enough and there's no point in continuing on this path, because my health was suffering. And what was I staying in a job for? Just for the salary that then I would pay the hospital with. So it wasn't enough of a motivation to stay in that job. Now, because of that context, nobody was hiring. Recruitment agencies were furloughed. So They weren't really hiring. There weren't other jobs advertised. So there was no plan B when I decided to quit my job. Again, a very, very stressful time. And when I look back, I think, oh my God, that was so crazy. I don't think I would do it again, really, because that was a moment of desperation and craziness. And yeah, I don't think I would take the same path, mainly because the context was so very difficult, the pandemic.
Yeah, it was kind of an extreme
it
time, wasn't it?
It was extreme. Alina and I both decided to resign. We were working in the same company, so we resigned on the same day, within an hour of each other. We both decided to take this very bold step. Everybody around us was calling us irresponsible. Everybody was panicking about our future. We didn't have any plan B. And when we decided, okay, so we don't have a job anymore, there's no salary coming next month, what do we do? And I said, well, do you remember that orange notebook when we wrote things like 2 years ago? And we looked back at that and said, well, shall we do it? Because what else could we do? So on the very last day at work, we registered the business. We called it the Orange Notebook as it started with an orange notebook.
Makes sense.
And yeah. And then that was the start. We started with £30 in a business account and no contacts, no clients, nothing, absolutely nothing. No funding, no investment, no family support, as we both come from Romania and our family is in Romania. So we had to create very quickly enough money to be able to survive, to pay rent, mortgages, bills, buy food, all of that. Again, extreme stress. Now, the interesting bit is I could recognize it was a different type of stress compared to the stress I was having when I had my job.
Mm.
It felt like there is a stress I could work with, I could live with. I felt more in control of it, although there was really no control. Because when you start a job, there's so much uncertainty, you can't really predict how things will go.
But is it also a bit of that anxiety? Not anxiety, I mean excitement.
Yes, there was excitement.
New, and it's it's a project. You got a bit of purpose to it,
and you get to create.
Yeah,
and this was something that was missing from our jobs. We didn't get the chance to create, and now the world was our oyster. And like I like to say, my business, my rules. I can do whatever I want. I can create whatever I want. So although I could recognize the stress, it was a stress I was willing to take on compared to the stress I used to have while being in a job, something that I could not put up with anymore. We worked really hard for about 3 months. And then from month 4, we landed our first project and we started paying salaries. And from there, we paid salaries every month. We started getting more projects, investing back in the business, hiring a coach, getting more support, getting people to help us deliver the work, and putting things in place for the business to work for us. Although, like everybody else, we have good moments and bad moments. Now, on this journey, I've always been the anxious type. I know this about myself. I always tend to worry. It's something that I've struggled with from childhood. And it's almost like it was a label for me. Yeah, I'm anxious. Yes, I have anxiety. Like that was part of my identity. But then I never recognized that it was high functioning anxiety and how that is different to anything else. And to give you a bit of context about high functioning anxiety, it starts from the belief that you are not good enough.
And I think a lot of highly successful people go through this, don't they?
Yeah.
It's that imposter syndrome a little bit, that plus the high pressure, and that kind of, you want to be perfect, you want to be good.
Yeah.
But it's that high pressure imposter syndrome, that fear of failure as well.
Absolutely. And that is all part of high functioning anxiety, because when there is that belief and you operate with the belief that you're not good enough, what you're trying to do is to do everything else that confirms that you're good enough, essentially. So what that makes you do is you want to overachieve, you work really hard, you want to control things, you don't delegate. Everything needs to be in your power, in your control, so nobody else can touch it, nobody else can do it better than you, so perfectionism. Fear of failure, like you said. But all of this is to confirm to people that you are actually good enough, because that's the biggest fear. And with high functioning anxiety, you never accept that you are enough. You always feel like you need to create, you need to overachieve.
Yeah, it's proving, but who are you proving to?
Exactly. So when I started my business, I started with this mindset. I need to prove myself. I need to show that I'm good. And because we are in the business of like branding, marketing, business strategy, I have to have the perfect website. I have to have the perfect social media. It needs to be beautifully designed. It needs to be this. It needs to be that. And I used to operate with this. Well, if they look at our website and it's not good enough, well, they can't trust us. They can't hire us because clearly we're not showing that we're good enough. Yeah. That was functioning anxiety, being good enough, proving that you're good enough. But that makes you get you stuck because you're always refining, you're always working on improving. You're never good enough. You're always improving yourself. And I recognize this in myself in work scenarios, but also in personal life.
Yeah, but I just want to ask you, so do you find though, because you're wanting to like keep perfecting and nothing ever feels good enough, you can always do better, do more, etc. Do you find that sometimes you actually hold back from moving forward on things? So it's almost like, you need to move this project forward or the website forward or whatever it is that you're focusing on at that time. But because you're so focused on it's never good enough, you never actually get the website off the ground, you never ever get the business plan going, you never reach out to a client because you're always trying to make sure everything has to be perfect before you can put yourself in the public space.
Absolutely. The interesting bit is because we are two co-founders, Alina doesn't have this. So she doesn't operate with the same filters, the same beliefs. So, and because there's two of us, I feel like I'm responsible to her and accountable to her. So when I spiral, she steps in and says, calm down. It's good enough. We can send it like this. I'm like, no, but we can work more on this and more on that. And let's stay a little bit longer on this bit. No, we're ready. Let's move. And then again, because I'm responsible and accountable to her, I go with what she says. And that's how we played it initially until I became aware of this, let's call it conditioning, high functioning anxiety. And once I became aware of it, I'm like, okay, at least I know what's happening for me so I can address it. And now it doesn't feel like I'm just doing whatever Alina is saying, following her lead. Now, yes, I'm following her lead whenever this situation happens, but I'm also acknowledging that this is the better option. And I'm also recognizing that I'm addressing a pattern that I have that's coming from high functioning anxiety. So I'm not just blindly following anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it is great that you've got that sort of buffer with having a business partner. Some people don't have that, but it's great that they can sort of know each other that well. Because it's when you have high functioning anxiety, you're like a lot of people when they get highly stressed, they sort of go, you go into that fight flight mode. So or freeze even, where you don't want to move. But the thing I've noticed with what I've been reading about and understanding of high functioning anxiety is that you're very capable of doing everything. So you look like you're very, on it. You're high energy. You're, on the outside, you're looking like you've got everything in place, everything organized, you're focused, you're on it 24/7, you're completely in control. But it's what's going on underneath that's the problem.
Absolutely.
The outside world, it looks like, wow, this person's incredible. But underneath, it's all these other issues, like we talked about the imposter syndrome and the fear of failure and all that going on underneath that nobody sees.
So there's a turmoil inside.
Yeah. And then how that then, if it's not dealt with, can then lead to things like not only health problems, but how you interact, your relationships, not just with your
Yeah.
loved ones, your family, but your business partner, your team around you, all these people, your customers, your clients, all these kinds of things. So it has a much wider, broader effect that
Yeah.
people are not aware of. And it's not until you realize, maybe this is something I'm having a problem with.
I've always felt very lonely in this because on the outside, yes, people see somebody who's confident, bubbly, energetic, on it, always prepared, and they don't get to see what's inside. And when I say, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm scared, they go, what? No, like, but you're so ready, you're so prepared, you're so capable. You don't get to understand what's inside. And to me, that felt very lonely, very isolating. Yes, somebody with high functioning anxiety needs to prepare. They never just shoot in the dark. We need to know exactly what the next step is. We need to have the path in front of us. And I still struggle with this because, for example, maybe I have a meeting with a client and there's not enough context and I can't really prepare a lot.
Yeah.
And I stress and I worry about it. And again, I have to remind myself, you can think on the spot. You are resourceful. You have ideas. You've been through this before and you know what to do. You are ready. You are equipped. You have enough. I need to constantly remind myself about all of this in order to calm this anxiety. But something that helps me a lot is actually talking about how I feel. So having somebody to share this burden with and create that connection is amazing. Because otherwise, like I said, it's very isolating and you're suffering alone.
Yeah, and I think I can completely understand that because as well, particularly as an entrepreneur, I think it can be you're very much alone a lot of the time.
Yes.
Even though obviously there's other entrepreneurs in the world and other people who've gone through similar things, but ultimately you is a very sort of isolated career path, if you like. And as you increase, as you become more successful, as you have all these things going on in your life, you don't have time for the normal friendship social circle.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem a lot of people have as they sort of their business grows and they're doing more and as I said, becoming more successful, that this sense of having no one to talk to. And I think having to find those groups of people, maybe somewhere where you can feel safe talking about the stresses you're under and it's very hard to find, I would think.
Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why I'm talking about this, because as entrepreneurs, let's say when we do networking calls, for example, and we just meet somebody and that somebody is a stranger, you've just met them, you don't start sharing vulnerable things straight away because you don't feel safe to do that, because you feel like they're going to judge you and they're going to believe that you're not good enough. And we don't want that. That's the biggest thing we need to avoid. So we tend to show up in a certain way that maybe is like very polished. You speak in a certain, you take on you put on a mask, and you take on a persona. Everybody does that in entrepreneurship. And again, I'm talking about this, I'm sharing this to spread the message that it's okay to actually be vulnerable. And most of us, the majority of us in entrepreneurship, have like imposter syndrome, high functioning anxiety. We all go through this roller coaster of emotions while running a business. One day is good, one day is not that good. One day we get 2 clients, the next day we lose a client. And it of course, it impacts you on a mental level, sometimes on a physical level. It has happened to me to instantly feel sick when something big was happening. But we don't tend to talk about it enough because we need to show up in a certain way. So I'm trying to encourage people and to normalize this bit. Yes, it's okay to have bad moments. Yes, it's okay to stress. Yes, it's okay to feel the need to be prepared. Yes, it's absolutely normal to feel the need to be in control. But as long as you know why you have these patterns, why it's important for you to be in control, when you have awareness, then you can work with that.
I think it's important that that's it. It's becoming aware that you have a problem. It's like any issue, whatever health issue it may be. It's once you become aware, you can start taking steps.
I don't
But
even know if it's a problem, really. I call it more like a conditioning, a different way of operating.
yeah,
Because there are a lot of good things that high functioning anxiety did and does for me.
yeah,
The fact that I need to prepare means that I can strategize, means that I can plan things better, means that it tries to protect you in a way. Be
but
prepared.
that's also a very important skill to have as an entrepreneur as
It's
well.
a very exactly the fact that I want to achieve things, and I'm high achiever, overachiever.
Mm.
It leads to achievements, and that's fantastic.
That's a positive
Um,
thing.
so it does a lot of good stuff. The problem is when it takes over your life, and when it impacts your business, your relationship with others, your health, like you were saying, autoimmune disease, high stress, moments when it's very physical, you can't get out of bed because of how you feel. And I've learned in the past 2-3 years that a lot of our physical symptoms are actually connected with how we feel emotionally and mentally, somatics.
There's been lots of research into it. One of my colleagues or contacts does a lot in sort of pain research. And one of the things they found, and even I've quoted these stats so many times before, is that even the WHO, they call it, it's like psychosocial trauma, like emotional trauma.
Yeah.
They found the connection between emotional trauma and physiological pain, chronic pain. So even if you haven't had an injury or an operation, or you're not sick, but you find yourself in chronic pain, the link between the emotional and psychological, along how it connects to the physical and how that can impact the physical.
Well, I know somebody who's been struggling with back pain for a very long time. And they've done acupuncture, they've been to the chiropractor, they've done sessions of massage and whatnot. It doesn't go away. But when they looked inside and assessed a little bit what's happening on an emotional level and mental level, they connected the dots because this person has a lot of pressure on themselves. They have very high targets. They have almost like an impossible task to achieve, and they internalize that pressure. And of course, the body reacts to that because you're taking a lot. So there's definitely a connection between emotions and how we feel on a physical level. Definitely.
Absolutely, because actually what happens is when you're in a high state of stress, we all know about the release of cortisol and how that can be damaging over an extended period of time, too much cortisol release. But what actually happens as well is there's a chemical changes how the cells function. And what that does, that then impacts your immune response. And therefore you get an increase in inflammation as well. Your immune system isn't as strong and you become more susceptible to illnesses, sicknesses, disease, and then that can then over time, excessive amounts of it can lead to potentially autoimmune problems and these kind of things. So definitely, because what you think and feel is going to show up in your body. Your body's going to be more tense, it's going to be more stressed, you're going to have more inflammation, and your immune system is going to be lowered.
Yeah.
So being able to strengthen that, not just in what you're thinking and how, like you say, how you operate in your day-to-day, particularly when you're in a high pressure environment, like being in business and particularly being self-employed, being an entrepreneur. But it's also what other things you can bring in then to really strengthen and use it have a bit of a buffer. So like, keeping fit, doing exercise, getting outside, making sure you're eating all the right things, all these kind of things come into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very strong connection that I wasn't aware of when, fitness, nutrition. To me, it was more with the purpose of, I need to lose weight, I need to look better, I need to get toned like everybody else. But then now the way I look at it is it actually makes me feel better. It actually gets me out of a certain state, of a certain mood. I need that time for myself. I need to get connected within my body. So yeah, I'm having a very interesting journey with fitness compared to previous years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think your journey now with fitness is that on the back of it, as you said, it helps you deal with the high functioning anxiety and helps get you back focused on to your business in a more positive way?
It's something, well, high functioning anxiety had an impact on this as well, because like I said, having this belief that you're not good enough, I've struggled with that. So I was always in the optimization mode. And when it comes to fitness, it was never enough what I was doing. Oh, so yeah, I did a bit of cardio and I went to a Zumba class. Well, that's not enough because everybody else is doing weightlifting. So I should actually do weightlifting. Okay, how do I do weightlifting? Because I need to do it the proper way because I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to hire a personal trainer. Hire the personal trainer. Yeah, but like it feels like it's not enough what he's giving me to do. And 2-3 sessions a week. No, I need to do 5 sessions a week. So constantly pushing and again, overachieving was something that was happening even with fitness for me. Also with nutrition. Oh, they say you should eat protein and salads and have a balanced diet. And then sometimes you want to eat a cake and you eat the cake and you feel guilty because, well, I'm not good enough. I've had a cake. I should eat salads, not cakes. So high functioning anxiety can have an impact on this as well. And it triggers other emotions like guilt, shame, because again, you need to be better than good enough. You need to always strive for the best. And when you're derailing because you're human, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Now, I've transformed a bit when it comes to fitness. I took matters in my hand a little bit more. So I used to have a personal trainer, and then it transitioned to online coaching. And I was going there very, doing everything religiously because I need to do it because I need to be good, better than good. And now I feel like I've learned a lot and I took what works for me and applied when I feel ready or strong enough for, like, for example, with the workout, I push myself when I feel like I can push myself, but I take it a little bit easier when I don't feel strong or when I don't feel like physically I'm well enough, for example.
So you're kind of listening to what your body's telling you it needs at that time, which is really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. I still try to keep a routine 3 to 4 times a week, go to the gym, and I focus on strength workouts. I do have moments when I do my hip thrusts and I'm like, you could do more than that. You could put more weight. And then I try to do it. I'm like, we're not there yet. I'm still, these patterns still come up, but now I'm becoming aware of them and I can say, actually, no, it's enough. I know why this is happening and we're not ready yet. So let's calm down and go on the path that we've started on. Let's not derail.
And it's like with fitness, like anything else, like with business even, you have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan and work through it bit by bit and see the progress gradually over time. That way, not only do you get the results you want, you do it safely. You're less likely to push yourself back through injury or anything like that and exhaustion.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you keep fit for the long term.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I guess you could say the two kind of cross over in that sense. That sort of understanding and learning you take from your health and fitness into your business, but also from your business into your health and fitness, and have that mindset that this is a strategy and this is a plan I need to follow. Because as you said, being high functioning, having this need to be like a strategic person and plan works perfectly for doing your fitness program and getting it done, and knowing when you're pushing it too far, you just need to hang back and have a bit of recovery. I mean, when it comes to sort of things that you've implemented that have worked for you, because I know everyone's different. What's going to work for one person isn't going to work for another. Families, time schedules, all these kinds of things, commitments, whatever. It's all different. But from your experience, what you found worked for you, explain to sort of the listeners, what inspired you and what maybe they can take some advice from or some tips from you that would be the best way if you find you're in this position when you're struggling with high functioning anxiety. What are the kind of steps, the strategies you implemented that work well for you?
Mhm. So everything starts from having self-awareness, definitely, and understanding why this is happening, and understanding what you're gaining from behaving in a certain way. Is it about safety? Is it about recognition? What is it about? Um, I've learned when it comes to business, I've learned to work with what makes me feel good, but still respecting commitments I make. So for me, respecting my commitments, my promise, my word is very important. It's one of my strongest values. So I've working on getting the balance between what I want and what I committed to doing. Now, in that process, I can recognize when high functioning anxiety comes in and knocks on my door and says, "Hey, you need to be better, you need to do more." And when that happens, I tend to pause a little bit. And if I can recognize it, I know where this is coming from. I share about this with friends or with my partner or with my business partner. So I instantly acknowledge it and I talk about it.
Mm.
And that, to me, it feels like I'm taking it out of my chest and I put it on the table and I look at it objectively. And from there, while talking to others and getting different perspectives, because if I don't share it, I'm blinded by it. And I'm just giving into that spiraling mode. But if I talk about it, I get different perspectives. So I can look at things more objectively. That's why it's important for me to talk about it. And if I can, talk about it in the moment while it's happening. Otherwise, I keep going in that loop. So I talk about it and get more perspectives. And then I decide what's important. I try to prioritize what's important for me. And based on that, I make the decision how I move forward. So it's very strategic if you want.
Yeah.
The way I approach when high functioning anxiety comes in a normal day, like day-to-day life. Yeah. Now, what I do also to prepare when it comes to work, like I've learned to design my days according to, again, what's important for me. So, for example, if we are in a period or a season of growth, and for example, we're looking for more clients, I'm designing my day with that focus and intention in mind. So I make sure that I have room in my day for networking calls, discovery calls. But then I know that a discovery call has a different energy compared to a client call.
Mm.
And I need to show up in a different way. And again, high functioning anxiety will have a role in the way I show up. So I try to categorize meetings and calls. For example, one day with intro calls only, so that I keep the same energy throughout the day. I very rarely design my day with client call, discovery call, proposal call, networking call, because these are 4 types of energy and it's very consuming. And then there's more room for spiraling.
Yeah, because your mood, your energy is going to be up and down, up and down, up exactly. And down. I have visions of the heart rate going and that churning exactly. in the stomach.
Yeah. So, we have a client call. So now I have to be very strategic, very focused on what the client is saying. But then after that, immediately I have a proposal call. Oh, I need to shift my energy. I need to be, in a mood and an energy of I'm the best, I'm confident, I'm ready to impress you, I'm ready to. So very different.
And it also helps with your prep, because like you say, if you're preparing for lots, if you know on this day I'm doing a sales call, on the other days I'm doing a consultation, you just prepare yourself the day before, and like you say, it makes such a difference to how you feel if you can maintain that sort of steady state almost throughout your day, because it's the fluctuations that drive you a little bit crazy.
Absolutely. But then, so this is what I'm doing to kind of like prevent, if you want, or to protect myself, protect my energy. But then in this, I sometimes try to expose myself to situations, like to new situations where I don't prepare enough, just to gather evidence that I can actually do a really good job.
Yeah,
I can actually perform really well. I don't need to be prepared. So in the back of my head is also the need to gather the evidence that I am ready no matter what. I am able to face whatever challenge I have in front of me. I have all the tools. I am enough. I am good enough.
Yeah.
But I do that very consciously and with intention. And that's, again, working with the high functioning anxiety. So that's work wise. But I've learned while running this business, I've learned that it's so important for me to have a balanced life as much as I can, because I put a lot of energy in my business. I don't have children, so there's nobody to take care of, nobody depending on me in that sense. So for me, the business is my priority. And then outside of the business, I try to make myself the priority as much as I can.
Yeah.
So going to the gym 3-4 times a week. I go on walks every day, as long as the weather is okay. It's not raining heavily, then I'm out for a walk and I try to get my 10K steps.
Yeah.
That for me is balancing myself. That for me is time with myself. I listen to music or I listen to a podcast. But it's important to be outside. And I've learned that while in the pandemic, because I think I wasn't aware of how important it is for me to be outside. Before that, of course, I would go to, in my job, I would go to the office. So I would be outside just to travel to and from. I would go shopping, but it wasn't being outside with intention and acknowledging that I'm outside, I can breathe fresh air. I'm doing this for myself. It was just part of the day. But with the pandemic, because there were so many restrictions, many people started going on walks. And then it became very addictive for me. So now, if I don't go on a walk, for example, yesterday I wasn't able to because it was raining heavily. I felt very like something wasn't right in the evening.
Yeah.
I feel like I was suffocating. I didn't get enough fresh air. So there's clearly a need to be outside. And then when it comes to nutrition, I'm trying to keep a balanced diet as much as I can, acknowledging that I'm human and I do like my cakes and chocolate.
Yeah, you can't deny yourself everything.
No, absolutely not. Because guilt, shame, they are present somewhere as well. So I'm trying to be as balanced as I can. One thing that I've started this year, and it's a completely new thing for me, is breath work. It's a novelty for me because I'm the kind of person that doesn't fully believe in these things, spiritual things. This is for people that go to Bali and have the time to do this. And
well, you're saying this actually, but I have some interesting good news for you. When it comes to breath work and recovery methods as a whole, breath work being one of them, is now in professional sport is actually being used a lot more.
Amazing.
We had this discussion recently. We had a meeting recently. We've got the tennis coming up. And breath work is actually really, really becoming more and more important. And the more people are talking about it. So it's no longer this woo-woo spiritual thing. So you're on exactly the right path where you need to be.
It used to
throw
be,
that in there.
Yeah, no, thank you. It used to be such a woo-woo thing that only people in Bali do. But I've started attending breathwork sessions early this year. Again, very skeptical. With a lot of resistance initially, because in my view, it was somebody's going to teach me how to breathe. Really?
Actually, you know what's interesting when we were having this discussion is, he was talking about, guess in Britain, UK, we're a nation of overbreathers.
Yeah.
And you should be able to get your breath down. He was saying you needed to get your breath down to about 4 or 5 breaths per minute, I think it was. Yeah, per minute. And I had did this test and I did about 18.
Oh.
But by practicing it, and I do actually practice it because it is really well, particularly if you're feeling worried about something, or a bit overwhelmed, you just sit with it, just a minute or two, and just slowly breathe. I mean, there's different ways of doing it. It's almost patterns of breathing, but it actually just breathe, relax. And if you struggle with sleep, I'm someone who's always had problems with sleep. If you're sitting in bed and you just breathe and just quiets your mind and gets you relaxed, it's really, really beneficial. And being able to control that breath is good for the oxygen coming into the body, which is going to give you more energy. It's going to help all these things. So breath work, really keep doing it.
It's been so transformational for me. Again, somebody that never believed in this. I've tried it in a very controlled way. It was a session with a specific theme, with a specific breathing pattern, and you were doing it in 2 cycles, and it was guided because it's a special type of breath work where you have an eye mask and headphones. So you're listening to a guided meditation, and you can't see anything, and you're breathing in a certain way. You are on a mat, and depending on the theme, your mind starts working in that direction, wherever it wants to go. And those sessions, again, it feels very physical. So because of the breathing pattern, I don't know what's happening chemically in your head, but your fingers and your toes get numb. And my personal experience, you feel like a certain warmth, or at times you feel very cold. I don't know what's happening there, but every time I've done such a session, I come out of it feeling, oh my God, what was that about? It helps, from my understanding, it helps the body process stored emotions. And it has a huge impact, not just in that moment, but also after it. For a while, you process things because you keep thinking about what were you thinking in that moment, in that session. It's been very transformational for me, and I can sense, I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know how to connect the dots between the impact that it had on my behavior and on my business, but I feel there is an impact. So I recommend breath work to anybody that has emotions to process and wants to work through it. That and therapy, the type of therapy where you actually talk, it's been instrumental for me in keeping me balanced and keeping me well enough to be able to handle stress, anxiety, and run this business.
Yeah, I think that's the key. It's any tools you can have to just calm your system down, get focused, and talking is probably one of the best things, whether it's to a professional therapist or whether it's to a friend or a close family member, someone who you feel you can trust. It might even be like a work buddy. I mean, I've spoken to psychotherapists before, and they say the importance of having a buddy, a work buddy, but they don't necessarily have to be someone you work with directly. It could be someone from another company, or that you can just have this conversation with. I think really, because I think what that does is, like you say, it takes it out of your head, takes it out of your system. It's like you've almost put it in on the screen or on a book in front of you, and then when it's out there, you can see actually it's not quite as overwhelming as I thought it was, because in your head it just becomes too much. You need to get it out there, write it down, write it in a diary, in a book, journaling, talk to someone. All these things are going to be really key. But what I do want to ask you is, when you're dealing with your clients, because obviously you're doing business strategy, branding, marketing, whatever it is, do you come across people that you can help them because you've gone on this journey? You kind of notice it in your clients sometimes, so you can actually sometimes utilize some of those strategies to help get your clients focused on what they need to do and really build the business around what's important to them, what they're passionate about, what's authentic to them.
Absolutely. I can spot patterns of high functioning anxiety very, very quickly because I can identify, I see them. But also part of our work is addressing beliefs, mindset blocks, emotional blocks that quietly derail execution. So, okay, we put together a strategy and it's great and it's fantastic. But if you don't implement it, if you struggle to implement it, if you stop, if you get stuck, we stop and look why. And a lot of the time is something around mental mindset or emotional. And there are moments when we can spot traumas, personal traumas, but also business traumas. We've had situations, a case of, for example, 2 co-founders who had a lot of misalignment and clashes, and one left, came back. So there was a lot of abandonment, rejection, a lot of business trauma that was impacting operations, that was impacting the team, the rest of the team, because if the leadership wasn't aligned and working well together, the rest of the team was following the
Yeah.
example. So we spot this, and then we stop and address it. So in my team, we have experts, psychology experts, psychotherapists, executive coaches, and also through my own experience, and then Alina as well. Alina is very passionate about psychotherapy, has a bookcase full of academic books around that. So we're constantly learning about this to be able to help clients with that extra push that a lot of the time is not very visible. It's not always about strategy.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. A lot of people's business strategists, consultants that focus on the nuts and bolts of running a business,
Yes.
how you get the sales, how you structure the business, all this kind of thing. It's really important. It's great to see that you've brought in that sort of psychotherapy, that mindset work to help your clients, because I think particularly when you're going on that journey of an entrepreneur, it's a roller coaster, and you really need to have lots of support, especially if your history, your own personal story and your history is, tends to be, if you look throughout your life, if you like, tends to be one of a little bit lacking in that self-belief, that, fear, all those complementary fears that come off, fear of success, fear of failure, imposter syndrome, all these kinds of things, fear of not being liked. And this can all feed into, your relationship with money, relationship with success, relationship with how you progress, whether you procrastinate a lot or not. All these things can accumulate. And then that's when you start to get the blocks and you don't follow through on the instructions from someone like yourself.
Yeah.
So it's great addressing that.
We call this identity work because it is about identity. Identity work can be with a dimension of branding and marketing, brand identity, creating the identity of the business. But and yes, we do that as well. But a lot of our work is personal identity and how it impacts the relationship the founder, the leader, the team has with the business.
Yeah.
And with the view of getting them moving, getting them implementing the strategy that we put together, getting them unstuck. From things like I'm not comfortable selling to I don't know, I'm undercharging and I can't bring myself to raise my price, to, I can't work with my co-founder because I don't trust them, or the team is not following what I'm saying because I don't know how to lead in the way that they will actually do what I say. So there's a lot that we tackle. And it's not just about creating the strategy or creating the brand or creating the logo, whatever the need is. It's not just about that. It's never about that, really.
Yeah, no, I it's great to hear that, because, finding your purpose, finding out what it really makes you tick and putting that into your business is going to make a whole different, it's going to change how you show up every day and how you look forward to it. And when you're looking forward, you're excited about what you're doing, no matter how hard the journey is, no matter the highs and the lows, you're able to get up, keep going, and still feel good about it every day. And I think having someone like yourself to help you on that journey makes such a huge difference to so many people, particularly at the moment with the current environment. A lot of people struggling, worried about their businesses. So I think this is a really positive step forward. And I just hope that, more businesses sort of think about, looking at when they're dealing with clients or staff or whatever it is, that they're really thinking about how people show up every day in their own, how they're feeling mentally and emotionally as well in that process.
We don't stop enough to think about that because we're wired to constantly go, push, do this, do that, especially if you're running the business alone, or you have a small team, but you are leading and you still feel like everything depends on you. You don't stop enough because there is no time, no room for stopping. I need to do this, I need to do that, everything's on me. How could I stop?
Yeah, it's that whole work. Everyone talks about work-life balance, but when you're an entrepreneur in particular, having that work-life balance is what work-life balance. If things are going crazy, you got to show up whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah.
whatever the day it is, whatever time it is.
Yeah.
But having structures that can help sort of balance that out, like your health and fitness, having someone who can guide you and coach you, and understanding why you're going through these emotions and then how
Yeah.
you cope with them, and that could just make the journey so much more easier and more pleasurable, I think.
Absolutely. And being aware where your internal commitment is. And if it's not towards what you want to achieve, then you're never going to achieve it because you prioritize other things.
Yeah.
But it's the first step in the journey is uncovering where that internal commitment is. And then really question if it needs to be there or somewhere else. If, for example, your internal commitment is, I'm running this business because I need to prove that I'm smart. But all you're talking about is I need to make money, I need more clients. Well, you're not acting towards, the making money and getting clients. You're acting based on where your internal commitment is, and that is, showing up as somebody super smart. So you'll take all the actions to prove that you're super smart. And this is something that people with high functioning anxiety will actually have, because again, it comes from I'm not good enough, so I need to prove that I'm good enough.
The question is, why do you feel you have to prove you're good enough? So it kind of leads into your personal story, where this all comes from. Where is, instead of dealing just with the symptom, let's look at the cause and clear the cause. That neurological connection to whatever that cause is, because it's not well, it's real, but it's not real in this scenario, for instance.
But the good thing is once you are aware, which is why the self-awareness is so important, you can then address things. You can then design your life, your day, your business in a way that works with how you're built, how you're wired. And also, if how you're built and how you're wired needs to be addressed, then you can do that because you're aware.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to stop, reflect, get help, do all these things that are not comfortable, are not fun. It's hard work. It's exhausting at times. I remember every time I was having my therapy session, I would cry my eyes out. It's not a pleasant journey, but it's super impactful.
Yeah. But once you've gone through that and you've broken through that barrier, everything starts to get easier. Because as well, like you say, once you're aware, you notice when you're starting to go on that downward spiral, you can immediately address it and avoid that.
Yeah.
So you become very self-aware when you become more reconnected with yourself as well, and the reason you're doing this.
And you become friends with your high-functioning anxiety because you can recognize all the good things that it brings you. And also you can recognize that you do have the power to control it. It's a journey.
Yeah. And it really is worthwhile as well. Once you...
Absolutely.
You won't regret it, but you need to just look after yourself because, as I always say, your business is your sport and you are the athlete of that sport. So you've got to train like one. And that's not just training physically, mentally, emotionally, and all aspects of your business. It's a journey, it's work, but it's one that's very worthwhile doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that in this process, you do transform yourself. You do get to grow. My sister has a lovely saying. Well, she said it to me once. Since you've started this business, it's like you have 3 heads of knowledge. And since she said that, I'm like, yeah, I'm a 3-headed dragon now. It feels like that. But it's a really good journey, and there's a lot of growth, and I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah. Oh, well, look, Karina, this has been fantastic talking to you and hearing your story. And there's lots of gems of information there and ideas that people can take away and start thinking a little bit more about and how they're feeling as well, and sort of start on that journey of dealing with those emotions and the stresses, because it's gonna be save you in the long run. But if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you? If they think, do you know what, Karina is the woman for me, I need to go and work with her.
I'm on LinkedIn, and my DMs are always open for people who want to reach out and share stories or ask questions. So it's my full name, Corina Călugăr, and I think I have MBA next to my surname. And they can also visit our website if they're interested in what we do. So it's www.theorangenotebook.co.uk.
Okay, I'll put the links in the show notes. So
absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm present there. I'm talking, I'm trying to post and trying to share about my journey and
Yeah.
also the work that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been fantastic listening to your journey and really
Thank you.
inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today, because it's not easy to make yourself feel a bit vulnerable, because it is, but it also, to me, it shows how strong you are and how far you have come, to be able to share that. And I think it's really important. And I've certainly learned a lot from speaking to you. So thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you so much.
appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's the end of today's episode. I'd like to thank Karina for joining me again. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in and listened to this episode. And we look forward to you joining us next time. But for today, I'd like to say thank you from me at Unleash Your Inner Athlete. Thank you.